The Vikings, legendary seafarers and brutal warriors, have fascinated the world for centuries. But while we've learnt about many of their deeds through the sagas, archaeology and written history, the Vikings left behind mysteries that even modern historians struggle to understand. Today, we're diving into 5 unsolved mysteries of the Vikings that continue to baffle experts. From fearless berserk warriors to disappearing colonies, get ready to dive into the unknown, the unexpected, and the unexplained. Viking berserkers were famed for their unstoppable, trance-like rage, charging into battle without fear and seemingly impervious to pain. It is the root of the word berserk today, but in Old Norse likely meant bear shirt, someone who wears a coat made out of a bear's skin. Norse sagas describe berserkers as ferocious warriors who could take down scores of enemies in single combat, reportedly biting their shields, frothing at the mouth, and fighting with the strength of 10 men. But what fueled this intense fury? One leading theory is that berserkers used psychoactive substances to enter this altered state. The mushroom Amanita muscaria, or fly agaric, is a known hallucinogen that grows in Scandinavia and may have been used by Viking warriors to induce their wild behaviour. Consuming these mushrooms can cause hallucinations, heightened energy, and erratic behaviour, all fitting descriptions of the berserker rage. This theory is supported by accounts from other ancient cultures that used hallucinogens to prepare for battle, although there is a lack of direct evidence linking these mushrooms to the Vikings. Other historians, however, believe the berserker state was induced through a form of self-hypnosis or ritualized meditation. Before battles, berserkers are said to have engaged in rhythmic chanting, deep breathing, or even hyperventilation, allowing them to enter a trance that sharpened their focus and reduced sensitivity to pain. This practice may have been rooted in spiritual beliefs, with berserkers summoning the protection of Odin or channeling animal spirits. There's also the possibility that some berserkers suffered from psychological conditions, such as PTSD, which could have caused violent outbursts and an inability to control one's aggression. Combined with intense physical training and a self-belief in divine protection, a warrior of this nature would have indeed been particularly ferocious. The exact cause of the berserker's rage may never be known, but it's clear that they were amongst the most feared warriors in history. Whether their trance-like fury came from psychedelics, self-hypnosis, or a mixture of factors, the berserker's ability to transform into almost supernatural forces of destruction remains an enduring mystery. Next up is one of the most advanced weapons of the Viking Age, the Ulfberht sword. Between the 9th and 11th centuries, nearly 170 Ulfberht swords were forged, each inscribed with the distinctive marking, Ulfberht. These swords were made of crucible steel, a type of steel so advanced it wouldn't reappear in Europe until the Industrial Revolution hundreds of years later. So how did Viking blacksmiths create such technology? And who exactly was Ulfberht? The creation of Ulfberht swords required heating iron to nearly 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, a feat almost impossible with Viking-era technology. At these high temperatures, impurities were removed from the metal, resulting in a steel that was both incredibly strong and flexible. Experts believe that the Ulfberht swords may have been forged using techniques from Persia or the Middle East, where advanced steel making was practiced. But how the Vikings came into contact with these techniques is unknown. It's possible that the Vikings, who traded as far east as the Byzantine Empire, acquired this technology through trade or war. Adding to the intrigue, some of the swords bearing the Ulfberht inscription appear to be imitations made with inferior materials. These fake Ulfberht swords hint at the sword's legendary status, so valued that people were willing to produce counterfeits to capture its renown. Was Ulfberht an individual master craftsman, a guild of sword makers, or a family name passed down across generations. The mystery of who produced these swords and how they were made adds a fascinating layer to our understanding of Viking craftsmanship. The Ulfbert swords remain a testament to the Vikings' skill and connections. Whether they developed the technology on their own or acquired it through trade, the Ulfbert swords were centuries ahead of their time. To this day, historians and metallurgists are left guessing at how the Vikings came to wield such incredible weapons, and the mystery of the Ulfbert swords endures. The Viking sagas tell of a land west of Greenland, rich with resources and fertile soil. This place, called Vinland by the Vikings, is described as a lush region with plenty of timber and wild grapes. Around the year 1000, Leif Erikson is said to have sailed from Greenland to Vinland, making him possibly the first European to set foot in North America. But where exactly was Vinland? In 1960, Helga and Anne Stein Ingstad uncovered the remnants of a Norse settlement at Lons Meadows in Newfoundland, Canada. Radiocarbon dating confirmed that this settlement was established around the year 1000, matching the timeline of Leif Erikson's journey. But Newfoundland lacks the grapes described in the sagas, leading some historians to believe that Vinland may have been farther south, possibly in New England. However, the saga's descriptions are vague and open to interpretation. Vin in Old Norse can mean pasture as well as vine, leading some to suggest that Vinland could be interpreted as pasture land. It's also possible that Vinland referred to a broader region the Vikings explored but never settled permanently. The harsh climate, coupled with potential conflicts with indigenous people, may have made it difficult for the Vikings to establish long-lasting colonies there. Adding to the mystery, some researchers suggest that other Viking outposts existed along the eastern Canadian coast, with temporary camps set up for timber collection or fishing expeditions. Despite this, there's no concrete evidence of a permanent Viking presence beyond Newfoundland. The mystery of Vinland raises as many questions as it answers. While the Vikings' exploration of North America is now widely accepted, the true location of Vinland remains unknown. Whether it was Newfoundland, New England, or both, the Viking voyage to North America proves they were daring explorers, venturing far beyond Europe long before Columbus. Ivar the Boneless is one of Viking history's most enigmatic figures. Son of Ragnar Lothbrok, he was known as a ruthless and strategic leader, leading the Great Heathen Army in its invasion of Anglo-Saxon England. But his peculiar nickname, Boneless, has been the subject of speculation for centuries. Was this a reference to a physical condition, or did it signify something else? One theory suggests that Ivar suffered from a medical condition like osteogenesis imperfecta, which causes brittle bones. Such a condition would explain his nickname and could account for descriptions in the sagas of him being carried into battle on a shield. This boneless state, however, seems at odds with his reputation as a fearsome warrior. How could someone with brittle bones lead armies and inspire terror across kingdoms? Another possibility is that boneless was a mistranslation of bineless or legless, which is a metaphor for a snake. Was this meant as a description of his personality or fighting style rather than his physical body? In Old Norse, the term might imply flexibility or adaptability, suggesting that Ivar was a master strategist who could adapt his tactics to any situation, or that he was an incredibly flexible and agile warrior. Another theory is that boneless was a euphemism for him being unable to perform in the bedroom, whilst one other hypothesis is that he was actually known as the Hated, which in Latin would be exosus. A medieval scribe with only a basic knowledge of Latin could have easily interpreted it as ex without, os bone, thus the boneless, although it is hard to align this theory with the direct translation of his name given in Norse sources. Whether he was physically boneless, a boneless master of strategy, or something else entirely, the exact origin of Ivar's bonelessness remains a mystery. Known as one of the greatest Viking leaders, Ivar the Boneless demonstrates that Viking legends are as complex as they are brutal. The Viking colonies in Greenland, founded by Eric the Red, father of Leif Erikson, in the 10th century, thrived for nearly 500 years. The Norse settlers farmed, built churches, and traded with Europe, despite Greenland's harsh climate. But sometime in the 15th century, these settlements disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only ruins and the mystery of what happened to the Greenland Vikings. One explanation is climate change. Around the 14th century, the Little Ice Age began, dramatically lowering temperatures across Europe and North America. In Greenland, the cold would have made farming almost impossible, and with their primary food source cut off, the Vikings may have succumbed to starvation or migrated. Another theory is that the Greenland Vikings faced increased conflict with the Inuit, who were well adapted to the extreme conditions and had arrived in the region around the same time. The Inuits' survival skills, which included hunting seals and building igloos, would have given them an advantage over the Norse settlers. Clashes between the two cultures may have contributed to the Vikings' eventual downfall. Trade disruptions are another possible factor. As Europe's trade routes shifted and Norway's resources were drained, Greenland settlers would have found themselves isolated, cut off from the supplies that they relied on. With the Greenland economy faltering, many may have chosen to return to Iceland or Norway, abandoning their settlements. But the most mysterious theory is that some Greenland Vikings attempted to reach the fabled lands of Vinland across the Atlantic. Inspired by Leif Erikson's journey, they may have embarked on one final voyage, only to vanish into the unknown. The Greenland Vikings' disappearance remains one of history's coldest cases. Did they starve, migrate, or vanish at sea? Though the ruins of their settlements offer some clues, the mystery endures as a haunting reminder of civilization's struggle against the forces of nature. From the secrets of berserker rage to the enigma of Ivar the Boneless, the Vikings left behind a legacy filled with both rich history and ongoing mystery. Each of these unsolved riddles reveals a different aspect of Viking life, reminding us that these seafarers and warriors were far more than simple marauders. If you've made it this far, please do consider subscribing to the channel, it really does help us out. But as always, thank you for watching, stay curious, and we'll see you on the next one.